very accomplished plugin author, runs quite a great business building awesome plugins that many of us use. And so Chris has now joined Pip and Williamson's team and is co-lead of EDD, the Easy Digital Downloads. So he's going to talk to us a little bit. We always get the question, what e-commerce system should I use? And the question is always, it depends. There is no yes or no. There is no right or wrong. And for a while, it got tiring, repeating that over and over. But Chris, I think, is going to do a great job of showing that there are options. And for certain things, this option is good. But for other things, this option is good. So I hope you come out of this understanding that there is no one e-commerce solution, that it depends so much on everything that you've got going on. What I would like to ask you to do is, especially with e-commerce, but oftentimes a lot of our discussions, it hits close to home. And you're really wanting to, okay, my project, what about my project? How does this affect my project? And so it can be very tempting to jump in, and then all of a sudden the discussion starts, talking about one specific use case. And we really want to make sure that this is beneficial for everyone. If you have questions afterwards, please feel free to use the networking time to just hang out, ask some of the other devs. Chris obviously is going to be an authority on e-commerce, but he's not the only one here that knows about e-commerce. There are other people in this room who can answer a lot of questions about e-commerce. So anyway, with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Chris get started.
Pretty much nailed exactly everything I was going to talk about.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. So she's totally right. There's so many options, and the one thing that everyone always gets really confused right away is, can I do X with Y? That's always the biggest question you hear, and my goal is to try and make this as easy as possible to consume in the short amount of time we have, and there are a lot of topics you can talk about with e-commerce. So yeah, a little bit about me really quick. It's really dark, but that's me and my family. My name's Chris Klosowski. I have been the co-lead of Easy Digital Downloads since January 1st. Twitter handle is C Klosowski at the bottom there, and my domain name is kungfudirect.com, and that's where I usually post my slides. So I will also make sure to link to the meetup. So to get started, I think it's really important to look at a brief history of time before we move on in e-commerce with WordPress, because back in about 2008, we had one option, and it was really WP e-commerce. And it actually is older than that, but that's when it became WP e-commerce. And then we really quickly jumped into 2009, where we got something called Shop. And their first commits into the repo were early 2009. So what, now 7 years ago? 6 years ago is when we really started this whole process. There's a big gap. 2 years where we really only had two competitors in the space. And then all of a sudden we had Cart66, we had Woocommerce, we got EDD in 2012, and then in 2013 we got iThemes Exchange. So you'll notice that it got really competitive really fast, and options became huge really quickly. And that's why it got so confusing, because there was no one de facto standard. These are the things I wanted to talk about tonight. So that's a huge list. So I thought about it. Open source, every option I'm going to talk about is open source, so we don't have to worry about that. Every option handles multi-currency, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. And every option supports Stripe, which I was talking about earlier. If you want to use credit cards, that's what I always recommend with Stripe. So every option supports that as well. There's a couple yellow ones here that are hard to see. Hosted, Cart66 Cloud is the only hosted solution here, meaning that you don't have to buy a hosting account to support. Every other option, you need to have your own WordPress installation. And Marketplace, right now, only Woocommerce and Easy Digital Downloads support selling other people's products. So where they can register as a vendor, upload their files, and sell them through your website. So where you make a commission off of it. So only two support that, Easy Digital Downloads and Woocommerce. So without those in the way, that actually pairs down our list to a pretty decent number here. So I always like to think about the number of downloads a plugin has, and that doesn't just stick with e-commerce. That's the first thing I'm looking at. How many downloads does a plugin have? Only because you know there's a huge user base testing that. the number of extensions, which are really just ways of adding features into the plugin without creating a large, they would call it bloat. Not everyone uses every feature, so why put everything there to complicate it? So what they do is they have a base set of e-commerce, and then if you want to add on functionality, there's free and paid extensions for that. Themes, all of them support themes pretty well, but I'll talk about that when we get to that slide. Mobile apps, because we don't want to be tied to our WordPress dashboard while we're trying to run our store. I want to be able to have a life. I want to look at sales reports on my computer only. What the support's like, and that's huge in e-commerce. If you're running your business off this, you have to pay attention to how the support is, because you don't want to get left out to dry. Unit tests, this is a real developer thing, but unit tests are simply a way to make sure that the code's not broken when we're developing it. So you can actually pay attention to if they have unit tests, and that way you know that before a release is made, that something has been tested extensively. Shipping. In e-commerce, there's two types, downloads and ship products usually. There's also subscriptions and stuff, but I won't get too much into that yet. So whether it supports shipping or not. Whether it supports recurring payments, so monthly subscriptions. Whether it supports commissions, which is if you're selling other people's products, you need to give them a way to pay them out, where if you're selling it for them, you take 70%, they take 30%. You take 30%, they get 70%, kind of that iTunes model. And licensing, as in, can you sell software through the solution? So I kind of tried to hit both the physical product and the digital product realm here a little bit. But we can just jump right into downloads, and right away you're going to see there's one winner when it comes to downloads. And they haven't even been around that long. Woocommerce has the largest number, and you can't see my comment up there, but I said thanks, Woo, because they jumped another couple 100,000 since Sunday when I took these numbers, because they released 3 versions. Yeah, they've done 3 releases since their major 2.3 update, I think. So they by far win. WP eCommerce, I had to shorten them because their names are just so long. WP eCommerce comes in at second. So both these have a lot of people using them. That doesn't always mean it's perfect, but what it means is more people to find bugs and more bugs to fix. So a good thing to look for. And you'll kind of see it slope down pretty drastically there. We come in at 519,000, which is a milestone we just hit last month. So that's pretty exciting. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's Woocommerce is the major one here with 6 million downloads. Then you've got WP eCommerce with almost 3 million. They've probably passed that by now. Easy Digital downloads at 519,000. Cart 66, this is the Lite, which does not do the cloud storage. So Cloud 66 Lite, or Cart 66 Lite is 165,000. iThemes Exchange is 5,000, about 57,000. And Shop, this is SHOPP, it comes in at about 29,000 downloads. So that doesn't mean that it's not good. It just means it's not as widely used. So something to keep in mind. The next big one that we have to look at, though, is extending functionality. And that's where it gets really interesting. I did each one of their websites for Woocommerce, Easy Digital Download, for eCommerce. They all have their own websites where they sell extensions, which are just add-on functionality, like shipping services, or things like supporting different gateways, payment gateways, Authorize.net, Stripe, WePay, the different forms of PayPal levels you can be. And they all sell them or have them on their own sites. And again, clearly with WooCommerce having 6 million users, they also have a lot of developers writing for them. So they've got 330 official extensions with another approximately 1,200 in the WordPress.org repository. So everything on the .org repository is going to be free. So right away, you've got a massive library of extensions available for WooCommerce. And then you can start seeing down the list here, WP eCommerce being second has another 633 extensions that are freely available to use. So it's actually pretty amazing to see that we have more free on .org than we do paid for easy to download. That's awesome. I love that. That means people are writing and finding small functionality that they just want to give to you. So it's really cool to look that up. And then Cart 66 is an interesting situation because they don't have many plugins on the .org repo, but what they do have is 3 levels of service. Lite, self-hosted, Pro, which adds functionality to your self-hosted site, and then Cloud, which is everything is run through their servers. So I didn't really know how to put that one on there, but that's the best way I could think to represent that. we jump into kind of looking at, this is where we're going to start jumping into like what extensions are available and what services are available for the different platforms. And this is the easiest way I could really kind of summarize it up. Themes, everything supports out-of-the-box themes. Typically, we develop these things to work on 2015, 2014, 2013, and then we go from there. You know, if something breaks in a theme, we try and develop around it. Not always possible. The one caveat I have here is some shopping carts do more to stylize the front end than others, and sometimes that doesn't always play nice with themes. I just recently set up a site for my wife with Woocommerce, and I think it's a great plugin, but it adds way too many styles to the front end for my liking. Unless you use their theme, they have a free theme available, in which it's styled perfectly. So it doesn't always work right in every theme. Just know that out of the box, it will at least function properly. It may not look perfect. You may have to spend some time tweaking it, but out of the box, it will pretty much function with everything. And that same goes for the rest of the theme. So that's just the one caveat I have with themes, is that some plugins, while compatible, don't look perfect out of the box. So keep in mind that you may need to spend some time with that. Mobile apps, this one's actually pretty interesting. That's it. When it comes to supporting mobile apps with your store, there's only 2 of them that have their own specific mobile apps. And that's really just so you can see sales, so you can see earnings for the day, so you can see, you know, customers, you can kind of look over the customers. You necessarily can't manage them, but you can at least see how your shop's doing while you're on the go. So that's really all we got for that, unfortunately. I wish there were more. And these all do have fees associated. So I think the easy digital download ones are $4.99 in the app stores, Android and iOS. And I think I remember seeing the WooCommerce one was like $2 or $3.99. It may have changed. So if you want to manage your shop on the go, you really only have 2 options. Support. This one's huge. You need support. And everyone offers a certain level of support. When I say forum, I mean community-run forums. This is users helping users, or developers of the community helping users or other developers. So only 4 of them have a community forum that they do support on. However, they all do have WordPress.org support forums, because all of these plugins are available on WordPress.org. So when you get a plugin off WordPress.org, there is a support section you can go to. They just don't have their own run forums on their own sites, which the ones that have green check marks all run their own support forums as well, on top of WordPress.org. And this is a specialized community of people that either have paid to help support, or they're just other users helping. They all, however, do have a ticketing system, which is typically called priority support, meaning you pay for a monthly access to the priority support forums or support tickets, or you get guaranteed. I saw one of them say guaranteed to give you a result. I don't know if that means it's right or wrong, but they're guaranteed to at least get to the point where you've either resolved that you can't fix it in general and we need to do an update, or they will fix it for you or help you fix it. So that is something to look out for. These range anywhere from, I think, $16 a month paid yearly, or $99 for every what they call support token. And that's just to get developer one-on-one help. A lot of times when you pay for that stuff, you're going to get the developers of the plugin helping you, not community members. So if you're really in a bind, you can at least get the developers to help you out. This one is actually pretty interesting, and something I take close to heart on my role at Easy Digital Downloads is it's the unit tests. What this basically means is when we make changes to the code base, we don't have to, humans make errors. Happens. We all make errors. If you say, hey, I need you to go test this feature, I could miss something if I'm manually clicking buttons and navigating. But with automated testing, we tell code to do it. And then the code runs through and makes all the tests run, and whether they pass or fail. So what that means is when I make a change on code that was 10 years old, or 3 years old, or 2 years old, heck, in some cases 2 weeks old, right away I know whether or not I broke the plugin. We actually had something come up with rounding. We had a rounding bug, and it turns out we didn't have a unit test to make sure that our rounding was working properly, which is very important in commerce. It can mean dollars, it can mean taxes, it can mean everything. So we wrote code to make sure our rounding worked. And by having that in place, we popped the bug. So that's something that is really kind of important. iThemes Exchange, I put a yellow line because we actually deal pretty closely with Corey Miller, and I heard that they're working on it. I'm getting it on here to test run. So. But everyone else pretty much does except for Cart 66. And they're all available if you're a developer. You can actually view their statuses on GitHub. They all have a badge on their project saying if they're passing or failing right now. And it's just nice to have. Shipping, this is always the big question. Does it support shipping? The ones that are asterisk, it's probably still really hard to see. The ones that are asterisk have it built in. They have shipping methods built directly into it that are more than just flat rate. They all have, like, do we support international? Do we support flat rate or free, local pickup? I think Woo has all those options in the box. Like you just download the free plugin, you get that. Easy Digital Downloads, again, a yellow line because we have a shipping plugin. It's called Simple Shipping, and all it does is it doesn't call out to USPS and get the rates. It doesn't call out to UPS. It's just a very basic shipping because we're Easy Digital Downloads, not easy shipping stuff. Well, some people use it to do multi-type products. So they'll sell like digital downloads, or if you want a physical CD, or if you want to download. We have people who use music. They sell music, and you can download the MP3s. But if you want a physical copy of it sent to you, you can also do that. So we have people who do that. People who sell photos. Shop doesn't have any extensive shipping built in. It's just flat rate, but they do have a large number of shipping options available on their website for purchase. I personally have only used the Woocommerce, and in a production environment, I've only used the Woocommerce USPS one, and at $59, it's worth your time. Yeah, I was telling them earlier, you're going to spend more than that to have a developer go through and try and write you a shipping plugin than to have one that's widely used and tested. So it may sound like a lot to spend $60 to integrate with USPS, but your sanity and the time you're going to spend on developers is well worth it. So I always just recommend that. Recurring is, again, doing subscriptions. Everything supports some sort of recurring payments. And most of them are actually not built in. Most of these are actually paid add-ons to do commission or recurring payments. And this is really just because people who are doing recurring are doing subscription services, whether you're doing tutorials or you want to do a membership site where paywalls, essentially, like New York Times does, where you have to pay to get most of the content. You get a certain amount of free views per month, and then you have to pay. Kind of like having priority access to an area, I think, is really the way to do it. I know Pippin wrote one that does for pippinplugins.com. He writes tutorials, and he has a premium section of that, and then bills recurring every month for access to that premium area or plugins. So that is something that everything supports. So if you want subscription, you can kind of play around with all of them. Commissions is more along the lines of selling other people's stuff. And up until today, I actually had to alter these slides like, I think, 2 hours ago because iThemes Exchange just released commissions today. So this is as of now. But out of the box, Woocommerce and Easy Digital Downloads only support commissions, as paid extensions, and then iThemes added on today. Yes?
Do the people who are selling through you, do they post their own information, their own product, and do all of that for you, or do you have to manage that?
That's the marketplace, which only Woocommerce and Easy Digital Downloads support right now. In this case, you would have to work with them directly and then post it yourself. I know Woocommerce has one called, I think it's even just called Marketplace, or Vendor Market, I don't know the exact name. And then Easy Digital Downloads has front-end submissions, which allows a vendor to register and then upload products, which go into a pending state. And then you, as the owner of the site, would verify that everything's right and then publish it and set up a base commission saying default everyone gets 30, 70, however that works. But those two do support that. So you don't have to worry about managing the whole thing. If you want to sell, does anyone sell software? I'm curious. This is what I do all day, to sell software. So for me, like, this is a big deal, but I can skip right past it. Awesome. If you want to support licensing, iThemes easy digital downloads and eCommerce all have it. And the way these work is basically, you know how like when you used to get the Windows CDs, you'd have that awesome license key on there, you'd have to try and type that stupid thing in and always get it wrong at least twice. These support that, as in if I want to sell a product that's like an activatable software, I sell it, I assign a license key. That license key gets renewed every X years, months, days, whatever. You can set that up. And when it expires, in our case, we sell WordPress plugins. So when it expires, they just don't get automatic updates, and they don't get access to the priority support. Apart from that, it'll still function in our case, but it just won't auto-update itself. But it does generate license keys. It handles renewing them. It handles discounting renewals. So you can have a higher upfront purchase with like 30% discount on renewals, things like that. So, what's that? iThemes has it, Easy Digital Downloads has it, and Woocommerce has it. All these support licensing, software licensing, and they're all paid. They are all paid add-ons. So, unfortunately, in the e-commerce world, sometimes you have to spend some money to make some money, and that's kind of the barrier to entry for a lot of people. Is they don't want to spend a lot to get going, but sometimes it's just the way it works out, unfortunately. And that's really the main features. I want to leave a lot of time for questions because it's so important that we I feel out what you guys want. Because these are the things that are important to me, but that may not be how it works for you. So I got a few slides of just when you're trying to get an e-commerce site going that having dealt with support for 6 to 8 months on easy digital downloads, I think are really important to think of before you even get started. And like Carol said, there isn't one good option. You have to choose the platform you use based off your specific needs. And I can't stress that enough because as we build these things, we think in a linear, we think what would be awesome for us. And we kind of listen to customer feedback and we listen to more customers. And if we added every feature that got requested into the plugin, it would just be this huge pile of code that no one could ever manage. So we pick and choose the feature sets that we think are more important to our customer bases, and you may fall into someone else's customer base, and that's totally fine. There are times where we say, yeah, you'll be better served using a different plugin, and that's fine. I get that. So definitely leads us into our second part, which is start with a staging environment. This one I really can't stress enough. If you're selling and making a living selling things online, you need a place that you can test your code or test your configuration before it goes live, or when you're doing updates. So let's say Woocommerce updates the plugin. You should have a place that you can update it that isn't customer impacting before you update the customer impacting site. Or a place that if you call support and need their support and they say, okay, well, can you try this out in staging environment or a test environment? That way you're not affecting live customers if it breaks. Or all of a sudden you're giving away everything for free by accident. So always, 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 whether it's another cheap hosting account, like $5 a month somewhere, or you use the managed WordPress or that has staging features, find a way to do it. That's the easiest way I can say, because it will save you so many hassles when you go, hey, support guys, I totally just deleted everything. Or I deleted a payment I really needed back. And I'm like, oh, you deleted it. Like, you should have tried that in a staging environment first. I don't have one of those. Okay, I'm sorry. I hate saying it, but sometimes we have to. Is that once it's gone, it's gone. So always have a backup environment that you can test things on, especially if this is your business. You always need to have that. And this is my favorite slide out of the whole thing. Try a few solutions before you commit to one, because you're going to fall on your face at least once while going through this process. You're going to make a mistake in the configuration. You're going to get 6 hours into setting up WP eCommerce and find out that it's not working exactly the way you want it, that you really need Woo themes and you need this other plugin. So get in, set up that staging environment, and just try it out. So important to just play around with it before you go live. So that one's kind of the biggest one too.
So I have a question about that. If, like, say I was hiring Carol to do my website, she would be doing all this as a developer of the site?
Typically, yeah.
So she would have that availability to play with these things and figure out, you're questioning me, what my needs are.
What your needs are, yeah. Someone should be able to feel out what your needs are. And a lot of times, so developers will typically have licenses. So I have licenses to quite a few of the most popular plugins that I pay for every year. because I know people are going to want to try them out. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a license to it. You can try it out. If it works for you, great. Go purchase it. You can use your license key. You can handle the renewal and everything. But typically,
if you're just doing your own website and you're just kind of trying something out, you can't just try out this plugin and that plugin and that plugin, right?
There are refund policies on the sites. So I know at Easy Digital Downloads, if you purchase something and you must first, the way we put it is, if you have a problem with it, it's not working the way you need it to, at least contact us. We ask that you first contact us, and if we can't resolve your problem, we'll probably refund you if you bought the wrong thing. Now, trying it out is one thing, but like if it just is broken, we'll definitely try and get it refunded to you because it's not working right. It's not. A lot of other e-commerce ones also have like free versions. There's like a paid and a free version. So you can always try out the trial version or the free version, which has less features, but has the basic functionality of the extension, and then you can upgrade. So in theory, you shouldn't have any iffiness in purchasing one. If you don't feel right with an extension or an extension to it, I just wouldn't purchase it. The page that sells it should have all the details listed out, what it does, screenshots, so you can see what it's going to look like before you can get there, if it's going to meet your needs. And if it doesn't, we all do pre-sales support. So if you say, hey, I want to do this, I handled a support ticket that had 20 questions at one time. Here's what we want to do. These are all the needs I have. Can you guys support it? And then we sat there and went through, and if we need one, yes, you can do that with this extension. This is built in, these are built in, this one is this extension. And then that way, people feel better about it.
I was going to mention it's important whether you're doing it yourself or whether you're working with, if you're working with a developer who's helping you do it, that developer is probably going to spec that out. They're going to say, are you shipping? How many products? Are there different types of products? Do you know? They're gonna ask a lot of questions, and even whenever you think you've been asked every question, every once in a while, so there's a gotcha out there. And so whenever you add e-commerce, I heard someone say one time that you take a website and then you add e-commerce to it, ×4 as far as the complexity and how much time it takes. And that's been pretty accurate.
It's not far off. It's complex. There's a lot of complexity when you go to e-commerce because you're dealing with multiple. Your variations just went up like tons of what's possible and what's needed. So
yeah. So for me, I was thinking partially for the purposes of understanding and note taking here.
Oh yeah.
But also just like imagining someone. I wouldn't do it, but someone just going off and doing their own little thing and trying it out. Like I had an experience where got everything all uploaded and was like, you know what, this thing doesn't work for our needs. Throughout not only the $700 that it costs, but then all the time that,
That's where the pre-sales questions are huge. And that's a huge one too. Like I said, we field a lot of pre-sales questions. And don't be afraid to ask. If you're going to spend money, I'll answer any question you have.
So probably if you're just not that familiar with it, you need to just hire somebody.
Hire someone or do your research.
Can I put that in the nose?
Just hire someone. Yeah, I would say that. Or if you're really interested in getting into it, there's plenty of resources, and definitely research. Just do your research before you purchase is a big one in e-commerce because we run into that a lot.
I think the biggest question is thinking that you know the questions to ask, but you don't really know it if you haven't done it before. Like now, I know like all kinds of questions to ask, right? Yeah. But before,
that's where those community forums are huge. If you can go through the community forums, odds are, and I hate to say this way, your idea is probably not groundbreaking.
Right.
9 times out of 10, your idea has been done or is close to being done, and someone's tried to do it before. So go look through the community forums and see if anyone's done it. And if they have, there's probably a support question asking what they can do with it. So that's always a good place to start to get questions.
Chris, can you talk a little bit about credit cards?
Taking credit cards. Yeah, so taking credit cards can happen a couple different ways. All of those solutions support PayPal out of the box. Which will do credit cards, but basically what happens is you say checkout, purchase, it takes you to PayPal, they sign into PayPal or pay by credit card, and then PayPal redirects them back to the site, to your site, completing the purchase. There's a handoff that happens in there. If you want to support something other than PayPal, I recommended Stripe in one of the slides. That Stripe is a payment gateway, Authorize.net, WePay, there's a ton of them out there. I think we have something like, out of 150 plugins, I think the largest category is payment gateways. just because there's so many. People want to do so many things with payments. So taking credit cards can be interesting. I always recommend, and this isn't necessarily a requirement, but if you're going to take credit cards, buy an SSL certificate. It will increase your conversion. Because people don't like to buy or they don't see a little green lock that says the site's secure. And it's just good practice. Anytime you're taking credit card information, social security card information, anything that's what they call PII or personally identifiable information, buy an SSL certificate. They're super cheap nowadays. So I like Stripe just because I'm a developer and the documentation is good. I can go look it up and I never have to talk to their support about how things work. They're always on it, and they have a pretty low rate. I think it was 2.7, 2.9?
2.75.
So yeah, 2.75% per transaction.
They're amazing.
Yeah, and they have a really good support staff. So, and the importance here is that using these gateways stops you from storing credit card information on your own sites, in your own database, which takes the liability off you for credit cards. For the most part, I can't say that legally because I'm not a lawyer, but for the most part, it takes a lot of the hassle out of the way. You don't have to concern yourself if you have 100 people's credit cards in your database. You know, someone else, Stripe has them. And if their database gets popped, then it's on them. And it's just they have really great experiences. They've got, you know, it doesn't even look like you went to Stripe. Basically, it all happens in the background. So the customer doesn't even know they went through Stripe, which is they went through you. That's all they need to know. What are the other things?
So, this payment gateway like that, if it's a customer that comes back, will the payment gateway recognize that customer so they don't after the
That typically no, because so I know I've dealt with our Stripe extension before. I never know, my code never knows the credit card other than when they first enter it. And then what I do is Stripe, they type it in this input field, and then Stripe, they call tokenizes it. They make it completely obfuscated. It's not a credit card number anymore. It's not stored as a credit card. It's actually even encrypted. So the only people who can decrypt it are the people who have the encryption code, which is Stripe. So when I send that over the wires through the internet to Stripe, they get it and go, I know what that code equals, this credit card number, this expiration date, and this username, or this card name and everything. Process it, and then they send me the transaction and whether it was successful or false. I never see the credit card number. So no, you typically can't auto-populate the credit card on the site when they come back for a second purchase. And to be completely honest, unless you have a lot of money to pay for a ridiculous hosting and security setup, I don't think you want it. It's in this day and age, you don't want to store it. But yeah, typically they won't auto-populate the portion. But I don't know, that always scares me when that's automatic. Now, if you use
Stripe, is it going to redirect like PayPal would?
Nope.
Or is it all happening?
It all happens on the page. There are two ways Stripe does it, whether it's all through the back end, where they never see anything pop up other than your little processing payment, or Stripe has what they call a buy now, which when they click on the button, it kind of does this modal where it gives a little Stripe interface and says type in credit card number, name, and then they buy now and then it processes through, and then you're still on your site. So yeah, Stripe does not redirect through. Now, the only case where they don't have to type in a credit card number again is recurring payments, and that's all handled on the gateway again. So like with Stripe, for instance, when we do a subscription, we store a subscription ID and a customer ID that Stripe has, and then I say, hey, Stripe, this person wants to renew. And then Stripe goes, okay, process the payment and send me back that it was successful or it was unsuccessful. So again, I never see credit card information on my site. It's all handled. And I know Authorized does that as well, I believe. Authorized that method. Question? Oh, okay. We got about 50 minutes, so.
I was just wondering if, for people who already have their site up and running, what are the most common issues or problems people run into with a site that's up and running?
Yeah, the biggest problems we usually run into are recently, every now and then you'll get glitches where if you're using PayPal as your payment gateway, you get they have what they call the IPN. And what an IPN is, when I send them, hey, this person wants to buy, can you take care of them? When they process the payment, PayPal sends my site a little note that says, hey, this person completed, go ahead and mark the payment is completed. Sometimes that fails, and it's usually on their end, and it's a big thing. Like the internet will go bust when PayPal's IPM is behind a couple hours, because no one who runs an e-commerce site is getting notifications that sales are completed until like 3 hours later. So sometimes that happens, not very often, but the other ones we get are just really oddball use cases is the biggest ones we find. I want to do, we have people who have all these really crazy ideas, and it's fun to try and figure out how to support them. Because sometimes we can, and sometimes we just can't. I think some of the big issues we have, people saying credit cards aren't being processed, and it's like, well, I don't actually process the credit card, someone else does, and if they say it's failing, it's failing. Sorry. Fraud management is a big one. I know we have a couple plugins for fraud management. You can blacklist their email addresses from purchasing. So if someone types in an email address, you can say no, that does not go through. We have one that if the IP address of I think I use it on one of my sites. If the IP address of the purchase doesn't match the country that the account said it's processing under, like if they typed in the credit card information, the address, and the address there was different than the zip code that their IP address was hitting from, or the range, we don't process it, we just put it in the pending status. Things like that, if you're doing worldwide sales review.
So you have something built to do that?
They're all extensions, yeah. I think that might even be a free one. Yeah, extensions, correct. Yeah, so that's another one to look out for, fraud. Stripe actually caught, I had a Stripe donation form on my website, and someone was using it to test credit cards by processing $1. And I would get about 5 or 10 of them that would fail, and then every now and then one would go through. And all it was doing was testing credit card numbers, CVC. That's all they were doing, was testing that. And I was like, wow, that's creative. Find a form that you can type in any amount you want. $1 is not going to look like suspicious to anyone with a credit card. I paid $1. Okay. So yeah, I mean, things like that. Just you have to be aware that it's happening and that it's possible. So typically, the payment processors, the gateways, will handle that for you. Like they'll catch it and say, declined, it's fraud. But every now and then, when they'll sneak through, and you have to deal with it. As someone who helps run a site that does e-commerce, chargebacks are something that you just have to deal with. If you're going to open yourself up to people to buy stuff from you, just be prepared for people to buy a ton of stuff and then be like, that was not authorized. And they do that. That stinks, but it's part of the game.
So the credit card company will refund them.
You're out the money. Yeah, they take the money from me and then they give it back to the customer. But that happens at stores too. I mean, that happens at physical stores. It's just something you have to be aware of. Most people who start websites to do e-commerce aren't huge stores with a huge bankroll behind them who can eat a $100 loss. Some of us can eat a $100 loss in a month. So it's something to look out for too. But we typically can handle it through fraud management. There's a lot of fraud management plugins out there for all of it.
What about refunds?
All I can say is have a really good refund policy on your website, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. All of these support refunding payments. So you can just go into the site and click refund, and it'll process it usually out. And I'll ping it back to PayPal. It says PayPal, I need you to refund this transaction you've done. So yeah, that is all practice. That's a really good port.
Where are the places for those refund policies? Are they typically on the shopping cart part of it, or are they
I usually just make a
supposed to be on your
page.
main website?
Well, so in this case, with all these plugins, it would be one and the same. These are all WordPress plugins, so your site and your shopping cart are the same WordPress site. So you're just in WordPress admin. I usually just create a page in WordPress and call it refund policy.
Okay.
And then I link it somewhere in either the terms of service or the purchase agreement saying, here's our refund policy. But it's really good to have one of those put out, not only because it doesn't protect you, but it protects your customers. At the end of the day, like, you can't protect your customers, it's a problem.
We were talking to the Business of Web Meetup too about privacy policies and terms of service.
Yes.
And WordPress.org just released their privacy policy and terms of service and open sourced it and are encouraging other people to use what they've had their attorneys work out and try and, so you can go to the WordPress, and do you remember the leaks? We're probably in the notes from the business and web meetup, but there were some links that you can go and you can build your terms of service policies
Yeah, I have
to.
them. If anybody wants something, just see me after the meetup.
Super important to have on a shopping cart. Just anything that you're dealing with collecting customers and you're gonna have a vast number of people, definitely have a privacy policy. It says I'm not gonna spam your email address or something like that. Yeah.
And when you're linking to outside websites, you still have a website disclaimer too that says, hey, I'm
Yeah.
not affiliated here.
Yeah, that's actually
But
really good point. So when I listed all those official extensions, that means that the website for that shopping cart plugin listed on their website, some of them do have third-party banners on them, which means you'll be taken to a third-party site to purchase it, but they've asked those sites to list it, and so definitely a good thing, because you'll see that you're not purchasing directly from easy digital downloads or WooCommerce. It'll take you to someone else's site to buy it, but they are flagging typically as third-party.
and then depending on also what you're doing, what you're selling, I think the FTC is one disclosure. Two, depending on what you're kind of doing. I think.
Yeah, depending on your products, you'll have to kind of follow some guidelines there. That's definitely a really good point too.
What about, is there a plugin that determines if they're, like if they have to pay taxes depending on what state they're in?
So that's built into, I believe, all of them. I didn't even cover taxes. That's a really good point. Wow, I failed on that one. Taxes is huge. So every one of those plugins does support a certain level of taxation. Now they don't honor tax laws. It's up to you to go in and, I know I sell in Arizona and I sell physical products. I need people in Arizona to be charged this percentage. Or, so that's all built in, and it will all be handled inside the plugins themselves. But it's up to you to know your tax laws and your tax rates. That's not, you can't just go in there and be like, oh, I'm in Arizona. Anyone in Arizona, just tell them to charge tax, and then the plugin figure it out. It's not how it works. You type in a percentage typically. And whether it's inclusive or exclusive, prices are usually either inclusive or exclusive of taxes. That's always an option. So as far as, I don't know if anyone's been following the whole VAT thing, the whole VAT taxes if you're selling in Europe online. That's a whole other thing that if you really care about, definitely read into, because if you're selling online digital products to people in Europe, there's some other regulations you have to follow nowadays.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
I know we had somebody who did an e-commerce presentation 3 years back or something. And that person mentioned that, this is a good, these plugins are great if you don't have a lot of SKUs. And recommended that if you have hundreds of SKUs, that you would probably use a cloud-based system. Do you agree with that?
Not anymore. So I believe personally, with the advances that WordPress core has made, like custom host types, now we can use the power of WordPress to basically make this as performant as possible. Back in the early days of this, everything had to be its own database table, and we're relying on the code or the developers to make sure it's performant. And now we're just using core WordPress functionality. At EDD, we have 150 SKUs of extensions that we sell. So some are free, some are paid, but we have 150 of them in there. And I know that, I think what I say, Woocommerce has 300 on their site, what it was. So they're selling 300 products, and I'm gonna guess they're probably using WooCommerce to sell their own products. But
that's another thing to think about when you're working an e-commerce thing. If you're going to be selling 500 products, you got to think about how are those going to be entered in. So if you're trying to, if you want to build an e-commerce thing that's going to launch next week, and you've got 500 products, good luck.
Pay someone who can do data entry.
Do most of them use? Most of them import?
Yeah, there are CSV importers for all of them. I know that. As far as I know, all of them have a CSV importer. When I was going through the feature list, maybe one doesn't. I'm pretty sure they all do. That's a pretty standard thing. The CSV imports. Typically, you can download an export to get the. If you download a blank export, it'll give you kind of what they want, and then you can just start filling in information and use that data. That's a pretty good way to go on this. I don't know if they all support that, and if we don't, I'm definitely going to try and do that because that's huge. If we could just give a blank export, what you want your import to look like.
Do the CSV imports include photos, or are those just the data?
So that's where it gets tricky, because in order for it to include a photo, it would have to be on the web already. Okay. So typically, no. That is actually, so my wife uses WooCommerce to sell some physical products, and that's her biggest annoyance is that when she gets a product and she wants to put it online, she fills all the data, takes a picture of their phone, and then she emails all these. She'll go through and take all the photos she wants to add to the site for the day, email them to herself, and then she has to physically go in and set them as featured images on each one of them. So,
Yeah, but still being able to import
But if you can import
the
all the
rest of
data,
it
yeah.
would be very helpful.
Yep.
Don't some of them allow you to import the pictures as the URL or the link?
But that means it already has to be
So
Right.
somewhere.
somewhere on the internet. And if you're going to upload, you might as well just already upload in WordPress.
There's a plugin that'll take the first, photo and make it.
Yes, there are plugins that do that. I've used those before, and sometimes if it's not registered, or if they don't register the thumbnail sizes properly in your theme, that won't necessarily work because it needs to crop every size. So when you have a theme, it should preset all the thumbnail sizes it wants, and sometimes it does and doesn't work. And sometimes people don't want the images in the content; they just want it as like so. Woocommerce as a gallery. So you actually don't put the images in the post content. They have a gallery system below that you add it into there, and then it's a feature. But yes, there are ones that will automatically take the first post, the first image in the post, and set it as a feature. You want to do that too. So. Yes.
I was wondering if you've seen any good strategies for driving traffic to your e-commerce site.
Driving traffic. Everyone's gonna say blogging. If you can write about it and get some publicity around it, that always helps. And write content, good content around it. I know. So we use a service called Help Scout to do our support. Help Scout does some of the best blog posts on customer support I have ever seen. All that makes me want to do is use Help Scout more. So I think it's a really good, if you can be the subject matter expert in whatever you're selling, that's a good way to do it. There are a couple I know, like look out for email lists too. I know there's one called, it was sold a couple years back called, I think it's WP App Store. And this is just to kind of show you what they do. What they do is every month you sign up for the newsletter, and every month they work out a deal with another plugin to give you a discount. So every month they'll say, okay, well this month you get 30% off of this plugin. Here's your discount code. And then what they do is they make relationships with all these other stores and then send out emails every month. So if you can find a mailing list in your topic, make a relationship there. A lot of it's just the standard old marketing stuff. If you want to make changes to your site to see what converts better, I always recommend Optimizely as an A/B testing. So if you want to test if a green purchase button works better than a blue purchase button, Optimizely is the way to do it in my mind because it's all visual based. I can say make this button green, and then it says you hit start, and it says 50% of your traffic to the green button and 50% to the blue button. And then after it gets 1,000 interactions, it'll give you a result on the blue list. But Optimizely.com is what I use for that.
Is there SEO plugins in the product?
On some of the plugins, yes. I know we don't have SEO. We don't want to get into SEO. Please do download. I'm not an SEO expert.
But are your CPTs?
We're a custom post mode. Yeah.
So then Yoast might add those fields to your products.
Some, yes. We do have schema.org markup too. That's another one. Look for schema.org markup, which is really just so search engines can understand what you're doing. So you tell it's an item, and you tell the property is like not the price, and then what it can do is say, I'm looking at a product page. So when Google hits our product pages, it says, oh, I'm looking at a product. Its price is this. It is not on sale, or it is on sale, and it's a quantity of this. So that way, when Google shows that product in a search result, it can tell you some of that information in there. So look, if you're selling physical products or want that stuff in search results, definitely look for something that's called schema markup. But yeah, SEO-wise, I don't think any of them really do SEO out of the box. They kind of rely on some of the SEO plugins out there because that's their realm and not ours. And I wouldn't really want to use it. Personally, I wouldn't use a shopping cart that has e-commerce built in, or sorry, SEO built in, because that's not what they do. They do e-commerce, not SEO. Too many hats in one basket in my mind.
Just for the notes, because I don't think I have this correct.
Sure.
Optimizing, is that a name of the company?
Optimizely.
Optimizely. They'll do the.
They do A/B testing.
A/B testing.
Okay, I think we've talked about that
Yeah.
before.
That's a big one.
Optimizely. And then for the schema.org, what would they look at?
So you don't even really need to look at it. It's usually built into eCommerce solutions out of the box. I know at least 3 of the 6 I talked about have it. And it's really all it is so search engines can understand that they're looking at purchasable products, not just blog posts. And that helps the search engines be able to kind of digest what your content is.
Okay, so it's already built in.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about PayPal, for instance,
Yeah.
and I used to use PayPal on my website and
Yep.
I did it that way, but I've kind of gotten away from like sales
Sure.
and kind of just doing, swiping the card on Square.
Yep.
And getting back to web sales, should I be going back to PayPal and setting up on Square, or?
If you're doing web sales, PayPal's come a long way. I have to say it that way. I know people still have their, I won't ever use PayPal again because someone purchased $100 of World of Warcraft stuff on because there was a big deal with that a while back, probably like 6 or 7 years ago. But they're pretty solid. I know we support Stripe and PayPal on easydigitaldownloads.com directly. So they're still a big player in the game. We only have 2 options because some people just don't want to use PayPal. They just don't have an account. So we always offer the direct credit card input. As far as Square, I love Square too. I love places that use Square. It's so easy because they already know my card and they email me my receipts and I'm done. So yeah, they're still in there. And if you used them before, they're still. And the commissions plugins that I talked about integrate with PayPal and Stripe. At least I know ours do directly, where if I want to pay out commissions, I generate a mass payment. So if I have like 10 developers and I want to pay them all 30% of their earnings for the month, I generate a mass payment file and send it to PayPal, and then it sends all that money to PayPal. So I don't have to deal with paying 10 people X amount of dollars. So I know those are great too.
Do they handle affiliates?
They handle what?
Affiliates.
So being part of a company that has an affiliate plugin,
The affiliate?
Affiliate WP is one that Tippin and Andrew wrote, and that integrates with all shopping carts. So we've got all the major shopping carts supported. I don't know if we do Cart 66. I have to remember off the top of my head. I can find out really quick. But they do have, if you are looking to do affiliates are basically honoring people who link to your site with their affiliate ID, and then a sale happens. You're basically honoring them and saying, okay, well, thanks for the referral. Here's 10% of that sale, or 20% of that sale. Let's see. Yeah.
Yes, did you call that a referral commission?
It's typically called just affiliate commission, affiliate payouts, things like that. They keep updating. So, Ninja Forums, Member Mouse, CBD, Jigo Shop, Woocommerce, iTunes Exchange, Restrict Content Pro, WP eCommerce, Wishlist Member Shop we do have on there, Gravity Forms, Paid Memberships Pro. So that's an affiliate plugin that integrates with all those. And all you do is check a box saying, I want WooCommerce support. And then whenever someone registers as an affiliate, they link back to your site with their affiliate ID, and if a purchase is done with that affiliate, they get X percentage of the sale. So that's actually kind of it's a good way to drive traffic, actually. It should mention. So if you want to drive traffic to your site, you can say reward people for giving you traffic. And I think he's got a 30-day refund policy. It's a pretty good plugin. I use it about the day it came out. So yeah, there you go. Buy. The first thing that comes up on the buy page. 30-day refund policy. So, yeah. It's a big one. I think we're almost out of time. I could go on forever. So I'm going to be here during networking, and I will probably go wherever we go to have food and drinks because I didn't get it. So I would be more than happy to talk there as well.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Chris. All right, so we're gonna now move into the next presentation, and we've all been talking a lot recently. The drag and drop themes are a big deal. So Chris bought Bee, one of the top themes on ThemeForest right now. In fact, at Pressnomics, the guy from Envato is the company that owns ThemeForest. The guy from Envato was going through some of their stats, and the Bee theme was either first or second in sales. It was one of the top 3. So this is like one of the big drag and drop things that's going on right now. So we're going to kind of watch it in action, and Chris is going to show us. So yay!
What is this portion of our
This is theme review.
theme review?
Theme review.
Hi, anyway, my name is Chris Diamond. I have a web development company, development maintenance security company called Aqua Studios. And I've always run into the problem where when I build a website, I don't want them all to look the same. And it really bugs me to use the same theme for every website, because then you kind of get websites that look very similar. The problem with that is that if you use a different theme for every website, then you got to spend hours learning that theme, right? So, in steps Bee theme, which I purchased, and the reason I like it, I'm going to show you why I like it at first, and then we'll go through some of the features. They have these pre-made layouts, and as you can see here, and there's a lot of them. These are all these sites were done using the same theme, and you can see that they all have a very different look, and I like that because like I said, I don't want all my sites to look the same or similar. And you can see that some of them go a little nuts, like this one. You can get a demo of each one just by clicking on them. Yeah, this is not the one.
You just got the picture of me.
I don't know why my mouse just went straight there.
I wonder.
No, I was looking for one with that. Oh, this one is really good. So I mean, it has a lot of really cool features. Like you can see this one has video, a big video front page. But if we go back, you can see that there's a lot of these, a lot of different styles that they do with this theme. And I thought it was very smart of them to build a lot of different demos because it shows how versatile the theme is, right? So you can see that they just go on forever, and they're kind of geared towards whatever industry that you're going to use them. So theoretically, if you had a fitness company, you could say, okay, here's this, here's one of their templates that's kind of geared towards fitness, and you can almost just copy this and change the text and the pictures, and the same thing. So.
But is it just all one page?
No, they're multi-page sites.
Oh, okay.
They do have one-page sites, and they do have multi-page sites.
If I wanted to put a slide showing
You can do anything. So, and the interesting thing about this theme is that it comes with. We talked about a builder. Does everybody know what a builder is in the WordPress site? So a builder, instead of going through and saying, I'm going to put this picture here, and I want to do these short codes, to do columns. The builder, you just kind of drag and drop. Drag and drop. You can say, okay, and I'll show you. But this one does have also layered sliders. Layered sliders means that each slide is composed of several elements, and they come in at different times. So you can see how when this one loads, so you can see that the head pops up, and then the bubble comes up. Those are all layers. And basically, when you build a slide with a layered slider, you take the background picture and you say, okay, here's this picture, and I want this to do this. Yeah. So this does have layered sliders. It has actually 2 different slider plugins that comes with it.
And so it's got some interesting features. And again, the reason I liked it the most is just because I can build websites with them, and they're not all going to look the same. I would have a very different look to it. So if we go look at the back end of things, so it's interesting. So what I did is, you could see this is my local dev server, which means I'm actually just experimenting, and I'm running WordPress on my own machine rather than running it on my hosting account. And I do that because it's a lot faster. But you can see that I did for each of these, there were certain things in different of their examples that I wanted to say, hey, how did they do that? So what I did is I just made a whole bunch of different installs, and if I found something on one of them I liked, then what I did was I installed it, and then I looked at how they did what they did. And let's see if this copy.
All of this is on 14.
I'm sorry?
All of this is on 14.
You should be running 4.1 no matter what, because if you're not, then you're behind.
I am.
You're risking some security vulnerabilities, so you just want to update all the time. So it's very quick. You can see this one has, this one actually has a slider that doesn't look like a slider. These things are just popping up from the bottom here. But if we go into the back end, it's so funny that this is the screen is so small that the drop down menu
Yeah.
instead of the menu.
So the hamburger thing's not usually there.
Right. I know you guys are saying, why is he using admin as admin? Because it's my local machine.
No, I can hide
Don't
it.
do that on your sites that are hosted. So here's kind of what the back end looks like. What's interesting about this is you can see that a page, let me bring up a page that's built already. The home page. This is actually the home page here. So what they have here, there's a plugin called Visual Composer, and it's a really good drag and drop builder. And one of the things about Visual Composer that's really neat is it's got a front end builder. So instead of building your page and the page edit thing, you actually build it and you see what it looks like without having to do a preview. And that's what this is, a Visual Composer. It's got a back end editor and it's got a front end editor. Before I show you that, let's look at, they have another one that's called, right here.
So Chris, is that a plugin on top of the beeping?
Right, beeping comes with Visual Composer.
Oh, it comes with it.
Right. But they have their own builder here. So it actually has two different page builders. You can decide which one to use. They both kind of do the same things. Each one has a couple little features that the other one doesn't. But this is what that front page looks like from the back end. And you can see that the first item here is a column heading, and if we look to see what's in there, it kind of shows us welcome to our restaurant. So if you look at the site, you can see that that's here. Welcome to our restaurant. And then we got the icons with the 4 columns, and that's what this is here, the icon boxes. So this is the muffin builder. This is the one I use primarily when I'm using this, because like I said, visual. Now, the caveat with this one is if I change themes, I have to rebuild my site pretty much. All the text will be there, but the muffin builder thing, all it sees a bunch of shortcuts. So if you're planning to change themes at any time in the future, you're better off using the Visual Composer, because that one is a plugin, so you can put that plugin in your new website and everything will work. But just to show you, so one of the other neat things about this before we get into looking at the builder, let's close this out. And I have a blank install here. Done really fast. Just give me a second here. Okay, so let me take a second. What I'm doing is I'm just cloning. I have a blank install of WordPress with the BP, with nothing done to it. And so here it is.
Password 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's but again, that's
It's local.
that's my local machine. So okay. That's the default that this is. So you can see it's pretty. This is pretty ugly, straight out of the box. This is what it looks like if you don't do anything to it. But one of the neat features is if I wanted to take one of those demo sites and I want to do it, take that site and then just modify it. I come down to somewhere here. No, it's in the. Okay. So I can go to the BP demo data and say, do this, and I pick one of the demo sites that they have, the furniture, and I import the attachments, and I hit import demo data, and now I've got a copy of just like the one that they had on their site. Now I have it on my site. That way I can edit it, so I can use the exact same layout, just edit the text, and I got the site that looks just like theirs. Or in my case, I use it just to see how they do certain things. I can say, oh, that looks neat. Like there was a map on one of them, and the map was like a grayscale Google map, and I thought it was really cool. But like, how did they do that? How did they make that map look like that? And so I loaded the demo in, and then I just went and looked at how they did it.
When you say how they did it, you looked at the code, right?
It's not the code, it's just that drag and drop. So I went to the elements. Okay, so I'll show you. That was.
Those screenshots that you just did, you said you imported the you see what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't want to do the import because it takes a while because it has to pull all the pictures from the site. But you would go to this demo and you would say which demo that you wanted to do. And you look at their site, you can see there's like a lot of them.
Okay, so stupid question. The beat thing, all of them, $49.
It's I believe $58 and
All of them.
yeah, it's just one theme, but it's all these demos are just configured differently. And then they even have also demo homepage. So if you just wanted to bring in a homepage and edit that, you don't want to do the whole. You don't want it to You don't want to bring in the whole demo site. You just want to bring in a cool homepage. Now these homepages are different than the sites, but you can see that they're geared towards different industries. They also have demo content, demo options, and demo widgets.
When you do pull something in, you said you could pull all the images in. Are those images for your use, or do you have to change those up with your own?
I would assume, and I'm not saying yes, but I would assume because they're using them that they're probably
Some sort of document.
you would have to talk to them.
Really like the vegetable lady.
You did? Figured you would.
So there was this one, and I'll show you that now. This is a good example of when I find something on one of the things that I like, and I want to figure out how they did it. Let's see the install. Oh, it's not here. Okay, never mind. Well, here, let me pull it in. So if I did the data and I did this tattoo, which is in let that go. And again, this is taking a little bit because it has to go. When it's pulling the demo data, it's pulling all the images too. So that's why the input takes a little while. So while that's going, and I'll show you the. So they do have a parallax option. They have a lot of parallax options actually. You can see that it does some cool parallax. What is parallax? Parallax is where the background image, you can see the leaves, they kind of move and they scroll at a different speed than the rest of the stuff. You see that on there? So you can see how, yeah, so parallax just means that the images scroll at a different rate.
It's today's slider. Everyone's doing it.
So you had no trouble pulling interesting things from different ones into your own?
Right. So again, when I find something that I think is cool, and I'll show you. I'll show you the really cool map I found.
So on the parallax, those sliders, like, so you put your own picture there,
Yeah,
and then another picture, and then they would be like working in tandem.
right.
Their
One
own-
scrolls a little different, so it kind of gives it like almost a 3D effect. Right?
So you just upload your photo to that, and it's done.
Yeah, a lot of sites now have parallax.
I'm behind the
Just tattoo,
times.
just past tattoo. It's below
Right.
pole.
So I was looking at this tattoo today, and I scrolled down here to the map, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. It kind of has the same coloration of the site. Yeah, well, yeah, it is there on my screen.
There's no way to kill just some of these lights, is there?
We would be turning off everyone's lights. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see that it's imported the demo data, and what was this ugly thing now? Is now it's actually that you have to import the sliders separately, and I didn't do that, so I'm not going to do that. But they do all the sliders are available.
Yeah.
So all the sliders are available for import. So I went down here and I saw, you can see that's parallax too right there, right? And there's the map. I guess you guys can't see that very well. It looks really cool on this screen.
I'm sorry. I'll let you know how good it looks.
It does. It's grayed out, so it's not in your face.
Thank you, Rita.
You still can't see it yet,
Still on.
Yeah.
but it does look good.
So then I went to there and I said, okay, well, how did they do that? So basically, I went to the page. I believe it's the home page here. And because I've been working with this a little while, I know some of the code. And we go down to the Muffin Builder, and I went down to where it said map here, and then I just looked at the settings for the map. And you can see that you do the longitude, and the height of the map, where you want the border. Here's the marker icon, which is this B in the middle here.
You can make that map any spot that you want, your hometown or somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did it with mine. And this is what I found was this really cool styles for maps. And I'm like, oh, well, that's, So I copied all this code and I put it in mine to make the map that color. And then I noticed this Snazzy Maps, which basically has a lot of different styles of maps. So if you find one you like say I wanted this, say I like this grayscale one here. I just click on it and it gives me all the code to use with this plugin. Here's the code to use with this plugin. And I just copy and paste that into it, and then my map now has that style. So that was one of the good cool features. But going back, you can see that if I wanted to add a new item, you can see these are basically a lot of all the modules that you can add in the Muffin Builder. Remember, there's 2 different builders. Each one has different modules. So if I wanted to do a blog slider, which means my blog posts are on a slider, or I want to do a call to action, or a chart, or I want to do multiple columns, or the map, like we were just showing. So I would just click this, and it adds it here. So here's where I just added that item. I can make it whatever, if I want it to be full page, I'd go to this. If I want it to be a half a page, I'd do that. And then I would just go and fill in all the options. And that's with everything in this builder.
So this is kind of like WordPress Meetup.
It kind of is, but
I mean, it's good for me, but I like.
So a newbie is going to probably get their site up a lot faster by building it through here instead of through the basic WordPress.
I think with the builders, yeah, and you're going to get a site that looks a lot more stylized with a lot less work. Because when I started off, I started using the Shortcodes Unlimited, which had all these features in it, but you have to. It's kind of all manual. You just type it in, and when you look at it, it's just a bunch of text on the page, and then you go to the preview, and yeah, everything's in columns, and there's some icons, and
I would say the builders are not just for newbies, because I don't really consider myself a newbie anymore, and I'm using them. But what it does is it gets our clients it gets us to go faster at a more economical price point, and we tend to serve small business and small nonprofit type clients. And what I can do with the builder is I can not be constrained by a normal theme, but let's say the person says, oh, I really want a big giant call to action, and I want it to look like this and all that. Well, I can draw and kind of build out a more custom type theme. It's not truly a custom theme, but I just have a lot more latitude to do what otherwise would have required a PHP programmer to do.
You mentioned a call to action.
Call to action. That's you want something to do something on your site. Buy now, call now, sign up for a free newsletter.
let me show you how I can save you $1,000. Click here.
Okay.
So you can see that these are the features that it has. It's got, it does have its own shortcodes. There's not very many of them, but it does have shortcodes if you wanted to go that way. It's got layer slider, and it's got 2 different sliders. It's got, I think, layer slider and revolution slider comes with it. It's got a whole set of icons. It has, and it talks about all the, does have a child theme.
Wow, nice.
So it's much more intuitive than standard WordPress. It seems like, I totally understand what you're saying. That's huge in terms of dollars, but just for somebody who's kind of getting their hobby going, instead of being stuck on what am I even looking at, I think I could get something.
Well, and what
really
used
quickly.
to happen was you would download a theme, and the theme in the theme demo looks gorgeous because it's got all this stuff. You download it and you look at the front page and it's ugly. And you're like, I don't know how to get what it looked like over there here when you're, first starting out. This really helps that.
So it's got a color generator, so you can pick a color and it kind of changes all the elements in your lines and fonts and headings to the different colors. It's got built-in SEO. I don't know if I'd use it. Probably use Yoast instead. Icons, optimized for speed. It's got custom backgrounds, unlimited colors. Works with all browsers. It's got a translator. Custom layout generator.
So then my question is, what's the bloat? What's page load signs on them?
I don't know. I haven't tested that yet.
That would be interesting to
I
know.
was just going to
because that's the first thing that comes to my head when I see like the builders and all that different stuff. It says, well, Google Insights gives it a space on mobile a 59 out of 100, on desktop a 71 out of 100, which is pretty
It's not
standard.
bad.
It's standard.
Can you explain what low is? I kind of think I know.
A lot. So when you have a lot of features in a site, there is code. And it takes time, even though it's a millisecond, when you get so much of it, even like milliseconds add up to be slow page load. So whenever you see, so that's also something that when you're looking for a theme, you need to kind of think about, how long is this going to take to load?
So,
I think I missed this part. You were showing the demos that they have, like the quick layouts you can kind of just like package,
Right.
like a package install, or is there like a drop-down menu where you're selecting which one you want to use?
it's a drop-down menu.
I have it like already installed on my computer, but I can't find the drop-down.
It's under, it should be here under the appearance. It's under appearance and then themes demo data. It took me a while to figure that out.
That's not really. I mean, it is appearance, but I would have thought it would have been.
So, and it's got a lot of options. If you look at the options, it uses Google fonts, so you can change all the fonts. It's got a custom CSS section, so if you're just, want to change some CSS items, you just put it in here. It's got the typical stuff, your logos, logo links, grid sizes, footer. It has unlimited sidebars, so you can make sidebars and assign different sidebars for different pages, and I think it even has a double column sidebar. No, that's
So for you developers who are, saving money by being so much quicker, I mean, is this like a no-brainer for you guys to use this or something like this?
It depends on who you are, what your business is, and who your clients are. For us, it's a no-brainer. We're using the drag and drops a lot.
I think what it does is, for me, it doesn't save me any time, but the website I come up with at the end looks so much better than the one, because it is time consuming to do it. And, for me, I'm very, using the builders and the drag and drop, I always like put an item in and go see what it looks like. Then change it, then go see what it looks like. So I spend a lot of time doing that.
But your customer's going to feel like they have such a unique, I mean, what they're getting for their money is a lot more.
Right.
Yeah. This is deep themes, which is drag and drop. Are there other ones out there that are really, really good?
A lot. There's a lot of them out there. It's kind of the big
How do
thing.
you find? How do you know? What do you look for to know that it's a drag?
It usually says.
Yeah, if you do the search, like I said, the best drag and drop is probably Visual Composer because it's a separate plugin. That way, if you change themes, you just install that plugin and you have the drag and drop and your website doesn't break. And there's a lot of themes that have Visual Composer built into it. X does. There's another theme.
XD, make.
Yeah.
So if I searched drag and drop WordPress themes,
Yeah.
You'll find a lot of information about it.
But again, like Carol and I both use Divi, which is another drag and drop, but it's proprietary to that theme. So if you change themes, you're going to end up reformatting your front pages or all your pages.
I'm actually going to finish building my site this weekend in Divi. I actually switched to B before I
Look at it and see.
Divi's, that's what we use. We use Divi. I've not used B. I wanted to see B, so I actually asked Chris I want to look at it. But we use Divi. Divi's good too.
I use Divi. This is how I work. If somebody has a tight budget, I'll use Divi because I can put a site together like that in Divi. Because it's very simple. It doesn't have as many options as this. But if somebody wants to spend some money and have a really, nice site with a lot of features, then I would move to X or to B. I think B is my go-to. And again, the reason I like it is because I learned one theme, but I can do so much with it that my sites don't look the same. They don't look Divi sites kind of are gonna all, you can kind of pick out and say, yeah, that's probably Divi.
Yeah, I've gone to other people's sites and I'm like, that's Divi. That's
Yeah.
Divi. Yeah.
This site, if you work it, you won't even be able to tell what Divi is.
Which is nice to have the example that you're doing, like the back end, you can see how they did it and you take that.
Yeah, you can see that I installed like coffee. I did what's the other ones here? Charity, design, New York, because like New York, I wanted to see how they did the fireworks. You know, how did they make the fireworks on the main headers, the fireworks with some text that flowed in. And so I was able to figure that out just by loading it in a demo site and then going and look at the front page and see how they did it.
How do you do this one?
TIVI.
VI.
Chris, your call, do they have a developer's license or do you have to license it per site?
I think they do have a developer's, but it's always very expensive. That's a, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these sites are all GPL, which means you can put it on as many sites as you want. But what you're going to lose is, and more so with these sites than others, is if you use this on 3 different sites, Envato has a new method of giving you a serial number so it can update itself. If you don't have that in there, you have to manually update the theme in those updates. And believe me, it's not fun. It's not fun updating because you have to update the theme. I do it through FTP. To update the theme, and then Visual Composer is probably old, so you have to do that manually. And then the slider's old, you have to do that manually. Whereas if you pay for it for each site, you'll get a authorization code to put in the Envato toolkit, and then Envato knows that you paid for it, and it will allow it to update. So does anybody have any questions? I mean, I could spend 2 hours showing you all the stuff this thing does, but I don't think we have 2 hours. Yeah, I want to get to the drinking and eating. So. But I suggest if it looks like something interesting to you, to go to this, just go to Theme Forest, look up B-Theme, and then look at all these demo sites and say, hey, look, that looks pretty cool. Let me see if that's something that will work on a site that I'm building right now. You can see that it has, and it would be impossible for me to go through all the features that it has because there's so many. But again, going to these demo sites and just looking at them and moving the mouse around. See, like you can see on this one, when I hover over each picture, it moves.
And there's built-in animations that I use in Divi too that are just so nice. It's like you can do that in CSS. The amount of time to actually get that to do what you want it to do in CSS is just a built-in animation. It's nice.
Yeah, I think it does run really cool. Which one?
I said, other than the lady on
Yeah. I don't know why I just looked at
just
my go-to. But you can see this one has a layered slider. It's got an audio player here. And this is usually the one have a menu. Oh, the other thing I really like, and this is kind of something, you know, back a year and a half ago, I made a vow that all my sites were going to be responsive when responsive codes came out, because that's something I think is important. This site, you can't see it here because the screen is too small, so it won't show the menus, but it has the sticky menus, which means as you scroll up, the menus stop at the top and they don't scroll with the page. And I think that's really important for the user interface, because people don't have to scroll all the way to, especially if you're building a long page, you don't have to scroll all the way to the top to get to the menu. They all stop at the top. But yeah, so I would just encourage you, if this looks like something you'd be interested in, just go there and look at some of the demos and say, hey, this has got some cool features. And once you look at the demos and once you go to the back end and look how they did it, you say, oh, well, that's easy. I could do that. So anyway, that's got SoundCloud.
Ooh, SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, so if you're building something, a site for a band.
All right, so I think that's it for tonight. I just wanted to, well, first of all, we were doing theme reviews, or we were doing plugin reviews for a while, and then I just wanted to see what B looked like on the back end, so I asked Chris to do it.